Rob says he is now motivated to share his story with others living with HIV, saying he is the living, breathing example of the success that the HOPE Act can bring. He forged a global partnership with the Habba Hut here in Montana, General Electric, and public and private businesses. Now they've all come together with just one goal. The goal is to learn what may have caused such a drastic climate change. How and why did Mars lose its liquid water, lose its early atmosphere? Good evening, everyone. Shock waves rock through the Broward Sheriff's Office. 2 deputies are taken down in an FBI sting involving diamonds, cash, and cocaine. Secretary Sebelius insists healthcare.gov is working, that an increasing number of Americans are signing up via the website and call centers, that consumers are securing affordable healthcare coverage. So what can we do to make ourselves safer? We asked police that question, and what we discovered was practical information, techniques to reduce the risk of becoming a victim. Many of the individuals veterans in need is helping are dealing with what she calls the hidden wounds of war, most notably the effects of post-traumatic stress disorder. And for recruit hopefuls, training includes going into real fire. Male or female, all of the hours of training and preparation, this is what it all comes down to.
Main engine start.
And with that, NASA scientists and engineers and the world watched as the Mars atmosphere volatile evolution, better known as MAVEN, successfully thundered into orbit aboard an Atlas rocket. NASA scientists hope MAVEN will reveal secrets of the evolution of Mars.
Something clearly happened. Water was abundant on early Mars. The environment was something that was capable of supporting liquid water. Yet today we see a cold, dry planet that is not able to support water.
This $671 million effort is the first exploration specifically dedicated to measuring the Martian atmosphere. Researchers hope to peer into the red planet's past and gather data that could possibly offer insights into its future. Scientists think Mars was similar to Earth some 4 billion years ago. Recent missions such as the Mars Reconnaissance have supplied evidence of river networks, lake basins, and glacier formations indicating the presence of liquid water. Yet, the surface of Mars is far different today. The planet averages temperatures of -64 degrees Fahrenheit, does not support liquid water, and has a thin atmosphere. The goal is to learn what may have caused such a drastic climate change. How and why did Mars lose its liquid water, lose its early atmosphere?
Mars is actually a very complicated system. We've gone beyond the ability to look at one part of the planet and understand everything there is to know about it.
MAVEN will orbit Mars. On board are 8 science instruments designed to measure its upper atmosphere. If all goes well, MAVEN will reach Mars in 10 months and begin its orbiting research next September. Julia Yarbough, Al Jazeera, Kennedy Space Center. 22-year-old Daniel McNaughton says the launch of the Affordable Care Act has provided a sense of security. He purchased a comprehensive coverage plan October 2nd. With the subsidy, he pays $70 a month. A college student with limited income, McNaughton has personal family experience with the health effects of cancer. He feels coverage is a must.
My parents have had a history of medical issues, so I know how important health insurance is to be able to stay financially stable.
Handpicked by the Department of Health and Human Services based on his personal positive experience with the program's rollout, McNaughton briefly met with Secretary Kathleen Sebelius as she touted success stories of the Affordable Care Act.
Having insurance gives me a good peace of mind.
In a private session for the media and students at Florida Technical College in Orlando, Secretary Sebelius deflected numerous questions regarding glitches with the government's website, healthcare.gov. Questions concerning some consumers losing their existing health care policies and those who, under the new act, must pay more for coverage. She did answer questions regarding allegations. The administration is now coming under fire for information in a newly revealed analysis that issued an early warning about the website. The independent review by McKinsey & Company was obtained from the House Energy and Commerce Committee and first reported by the Washington Post. It indicates the White House was warned last March that an October 1st rollout for healthcare.gov would be riddled with technical and logistical issues.
Action plans were put in place to address those issues and problems. Clearly, all of them, and particularly the timing for end-to-end testing was not sufficient. We've said that over and over again. We did exactly what should be done, that in the middle of a build, and again, a management assessment of progress in place, I think, is an appropriate and prudent step to take.
Secretary Sebelius insists healthcare.gov is working, that an increasing number of Americans are signing up via the website and call centers, that consumers are securing affordable healthcare coverage. She says by the end of November, problems encountered on the site will have been addressed and corrected. Julia Yarbough, Al Jazeera, Orlando.
You needed to get your food stamps.
I got it.
All right, so that's okay.
U.S. Army veteran Roger Washell is getting help from Victoria Thompson. She's working with him to figure out how he can get back on his feet.
The mission is to provide, to help and assist homeless, disabled, unemployed veterans that we're here.
Thompson says Washell is typical of the vets who come to the Veterans in Need Foundation. He served in the Army for 3 years in the early 80s. He's 51 now. This summer, he had a stroke and lost his job as a result. He says the Veterans Administration helps with his medical care, but says it has no support programs to help him afterwards. That's where Veterans in Need Foundation came in.
It was very helpful because I was living on the beach, you know, on the streets. And the VA gave me the phone number to the Veterans in Need. I called them, and they gave me a place to live and food.
Started in Florida in 2009, Veterans in Need Foundation now has licensed chapters in California, Georgia, and South Carolina. An Alabama chapter is in the works. Thompson says they're funded entirely from public donations and not officially affiliated with any branch of the U.S. military. Thompson describes the organization as a grassroots safety net for military veterans and their families, a net that includes emergency finances, transportation, job placement assistance, temporary on-site housing.
We had pork chops last night and steak.
This is their home for at least a few months. It's not intended to be permanent.
Veterans can come to them directly or be referred by the VA.
Thompson says many of the individuals Veterans in Need is helping are dealing with what she calls the hidden wounds of war, most notably the effects of post-traumatic stress disorder.
7-year U.S. Army veteran Matthew Trebilcock served in Iraq for 2.5 years. He's living with PTSD.
The biggest thing is on my heart right now is the organizations like this that reach out to make veterans feel warm and welcome.
Thompson says she wants Americans to understand how hard the transition to civilian life can be for vets and their families, and there's not enough being done to help them. Julia Yarbough, Al Jazeera, Pompano Beach, Florida. Rob had been battling kidney disease for 10 years when he was finally put on a transplant list. Then, in 2006, a doctor told him he was HIV positive.
He told me that meant that I could no longer get a transplant, which was very devastating because I was waiting.
He was lucky. In 2010, a nurse included him in a clinical trial of 100 HIV organ recipients, giving him a second chance. On March 21, 2013, doctors transplanted a new kidney.
It's like a new life. I have so much energy.
Other patients like Rob have new hope now that President Obama has signed the HIV Organ Policy Equity, or HOPE, Act. It's now legal for HIV-positive organs to be donated to HIV-positive people who need them. It could save thousands of lives. Eddie Orozco leads Positive Groups Miami, counseling people diagnosed as HIV-positive. He has lost many friends over the years to HIV/AIDS.
It's an excellent news for the HIV community. There's another hope that they no longer have to be waiting longer to get a transplant.
Rob says he is now motivated to share his story with others living with HIV, saying he is the living, breathing example of the success that the HOPE Act can bring.
Rob says he hopes the years of waiting and uncertainty he experienced will become a thing of the past.
I think it's great. I think it's going to change a lot of people's lives. I think it's going to give a lot of people hope because it definitely gave me hope.
Hope to focus on his future and not give up on life. Julia Yarbough, Al Jazeera, Miami.
And police are still trying to sort out the circumstances surrounding the death of a baby in Liberty City. Tuesday, a 7-month-old in the care of his mother's boyfriend was rushed to the hospital where he died. A second sick child was found in the home and remains hospitalized. And as a result, the mother's 3 living children are now in DCF custody. There will be a shelter hearing tomorrow to determine where to place those children. A group of students at Lauderhill Middle School gear up to send goods to Haiti. But what prompted their drive to help? Well, the students say a story they saw in our newscast about the storm-related devastation in Haiti inspired them. Along with the help from a guidance counselor, students collected dozens of clothing and food items, and today they shipped all those items off to Haiti. Here's an interesting one. One airline is filtering what flies through the skies and into your laptop. American Airlines now says it will filter its GoGo in-flight internet service to block pornography websites. The ban comes after complaints from passengers and flight attendants about objectionable material appearing on some people's computers. American is now working with the internet carrier to make the filtering happen. Earlier this week, Delta also announced it would filter its upcoming internet service. Do you know how many people that is going to save from embarrassment?
I was thinking the same thing.
Gotta love it.
Oh, that's great.
Tonight, we are learning new details in this investigation, and it turns out that Jesus Barrenechea might not be the only officer in trouble in this case. Tom Yamas working the very latest on this story outside the Miami Beach Police Department with our top story. New tonight, a tremendous accomplishment for dozens of South Florida foster children. More than 100 state foster care students graduated from high school today. The ceremony was held on the University of Miami campus, and the keynote speaker was Tracy Mourning, wife of longtime Heat star Alonzo Mourning, who spent much of his life in foster care. She offered the students advice as they enter the next phase of their lives.
I want you all to have a love for learning, and I want you to follow your passion and live your purpose.
It's estimated only 50% of 18-year-olds leaving foster care earn their diplomas. Congratulations to them. It was a night of legends and, most importantly, giving. He looks familiar. Our very own Tony Segreto emceed the inaugural Legends for Charity South Florida Wine Soiree in Fort Lauderdale tonight. Also on the Legends list, Miami Dolphins head coach Tony Sperano. The event benefits St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, and they do such wonderful work. So congratulations, everybody out there tonight. Talk about taking a plunge. 2 friends did just that right off a 2-story parking garage in Hallandale Beach. It happened late last night near the 400 block of Golden Isles Drive. The friends were getting ready to leave the garage when the driver lost control and smashed through a second-floor wall. The car was left dangling before it came crashing down on the roof of a car below it. But did you get outside and enjoy today at all?
It was just a spectacular South Florida day. This is the beginning now of the best weather South Florida has to offer.
We're all reminded of exactly why we live here, and Paul says that it's going to feel like, you know, fall, winter, well, South Florida style, right, Paul? Firefighters and or paramedics. The career field welcomes and encourages both sexes, but as I recently found out, for women, it may take a double dose of hard work and passion to excel. It is quite possibly one of the most infamous murder cases in South Florida. 3 dead and a killer still on the loose. And as Tom Yamish reports, the hunt for the Boca Mall murderer is back in the headlines as police release a 911 call from the morning a mother and daughter were found dead. A man accused of killing a BSO deputy has been sentenced to 30 years in prison for robbing a bank and 2 drugstores. Michael Mazza apologized for the robberies, which took place during an 8-day span in February 2007. He was en route to trial for the bank robbery last November when prosecutors say he killed Deputy Paul Ryan. Mazza, who was previously sentenced to life imprisonment for another bank robbery, could be sentenced to death if convicted of the deputy's murder. Playing it safe while patrolling. Still ahead here on the CW, South Florida drivers are being asked to do one simple thing: move over. We'll explain. Motorists ducking for cover, a wild shootout in the middle of a busy California freeway. And who could forget his 7 words you can never say on TV? Well, tonight, words of praise are pouring in for the late George Carlin. And to get South Florida news and video anytime, it's easy. Go to sunsentinel.com. It is the law and it's common sense. It's also common courtesy, and it is a lifesaver. And as Tisha Lewis reports, the Florida Highway Patrol is laying down the law on safety. Here's the story. 8 lives and counting. Still to come, firemen come to the rescue, but not before a tiny feline uses up one of its 9 lives. Oh, they say curiosity killed the cat, and that could have been the case this afternoon if not for a concerned bystander and a team of feline-loving firefighters. DeMarco Morgan has today's race to rescue a curious little kitten. Probably one of the best rescues of the entire day, especially considering that it really wasn't all that great outside in the world of weather, right, John? Okay, here's your Monday night riddle. What has 3 legs, no hair, and 1 eye? You want to know the answer? Well, it's the world's ugliest dog. All right, that's going to do it for us on this Monday night here on the CW. Thanks so much for having us in. We will look for you back here tomorrow night at 10. Have a good night.